maybe like firefighters or like how some military people live who are deployed, that they're not in their norm, or I guess if there's such a thing exists like a society normal way of living. It's kind of different routine, different schedules, a lot of intensity. It's not exactly the same, but that's the closest thing I can think of. Or like people like doctors are on call, nurses, that work, you know, broad
Gotcha.
shifts and stuff like that. So
It's hard to have anything that's really regular, is
yeah,
what I'm hearing you say.
I'm not a 9 to 5.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not, I don't know. I don't really like 9 to 5 myself. I mean, it has its own challenges, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with, yeah, it just depends. I mean, it's not like all of Ayurveda is out of your reach because of your schedule. It's not really like that because the whole essence is starting to listen intuitively to your body and like what it needs to be nourished. So let's say, well, I mean, should we go live? I don't know. I'm scared.
Sure, whatever you think is best.
You're gonna be on in public. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I
As long as
feel
you.
I feel my weaknesses is like, oh no, you should be scared, you should be nervous.
Oh.
Because they're like, it's not really my thing. But I kind of resonate. Like, if there's anything I can be a part of to help others, yeah, even
Well, that's
you know,
yeah. No, I mean that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, man, this is the kind of all these questions I feel like will help other people. I think the answers would help other people. I think some of it might be like, oh, that's what Neve's about. And then people can kind of be like, yeah, that resonates, or no, it doesn't, which I think is helpful. Um, I don't know. So that's why I was like, well, plus then it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really do a lot of coaching calls or, calls with people unless they're in programs. So it's kind of nice to do it as an interview. I think as long as you know it's not going to be on Facebook, you know what I mean? I'm not doing anything sneaky, then yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to put Ayurveda, spirituality, and life.
nice.
That sounds right, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just gonna talk with you. Um, okay, sorry, because this kind of like cuts into our time here, but okay. I think that's good. All right. But yeah, we don't actually have to start with the last question first, unless you want to. But we
I'll let
can.
you. Is it okay to defer to you and let you choose how you want it to
It used to be. Well, it doesn't matter. Well, I just first let me just thank you like for asking me these questions because I think it is something that will benefit other people. So, and thanks for being willing to just be on here and be real.
go? Pleasure.
It's important. We need real people in the world.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So, the parts of Ayurveda that I feel like are accessible is like one thing in Ayurveda is taking care of your sense organs. So, tasting, touching, right? So your skin, your mouth, your nose, your ears, your eyes, right? And all of these practices only take a few minutes. So that would be an easy place to start, like getting a tongue scraper. Have you seen those
Tongue.
metal tongue scrapers before? Yes? I don't hear you. I don't know. Did I lose you? You can hear me, right? But I can't hear you. Hmm. Oh, there it comes. It
You
came
now.
back.
I had a. I don't know if it was my end or I saw a message. I had a connection. I had a brief connection issue.
Oh, yeah. That happens. But yeah, I was just asking if you've heard of a tongue scraper. Or
Oh yes.
you have. Yeah, so that's easy. That's like a moving in an Ayurvedic direction. And it
Hmm.
actually does matter, but it only takes like what? A couple, like maybe 20 seconds before you brush your teeth. So there's things like that that are like little self-care things. And then there's the bigger idea, which is like for right now. we are in the fall, right? So it's vata season. So it's colder. Uh, the wind is rough and drying. And so to balance vata, we would eat sweet, sour, and salty, which is why I like the fall because I like those flavors. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it would be like sweet, sour, salty, warm foods in
Mm.
general, and warm water. Or like I'm I'm drinking peppermint tea. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
So it's like what if the qualities of nature
Mhm.
are, and this is in the gunas, but anyways, if the qualities of nature are like cold and dry, then you want to think about eating warm, oily foods or whatever. So it's kind of like balancing the opposite of whatever
Mm.
is happening. So like increases like, and the opposites balance each other. So a lot of times in society, something will be happening that makes you pissed off or something, and then you, not you but just people in general, will like drink alcohol, and then the alcohol is acidic and it increases that pissed off energy in the body, so it's like making it worse.
Mm.
Whereas if you're really angry, it might be better to like eat something cooling like having some aloe vera juice or something, and then meditating or writing a letter about, or to whoever you're angry about, whether or not you send it. So does that make sense, as far as there's still ways to move towards Ayurveda even if your schedule's a little bit hectic?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
I mean, it's just like a starting to learn, like, okay, what's gonna bring me more in balance based on the qualities of nature and the qualities in my body, like my emotions. So
Hmm.
it's all very intuitive as you start to do it. It's like, oh yeah, I like, for me, I really want beets. I really want delicious, warm, sweet beets. Now that
Hmm.
it's fall, I want roasted vegetables. I don't know if that makes. And roasted vegetables are easy and cheap. They're so, you just put some oil on them and some salt and throw them in the oven, right? 20 minutes,
Yeah.
420, something like that, and boom, delicious. So delicious. Anyway, so I don't know. Do you have any questions about that, or like does that make sense, as far as you there's still baby steps that you can move in
Yeah.
Ayurvedically?
Yeah, that makes sense, and I like that because as far as meals, that's one of my challenges is because I don't. It's very hard for me to sit down and do a good like meal prep for a good healthy meal like every single day, like all 3 or 4 or 5 meals. That's another thing too, because like work often is very physically and mentally involved, and it could be my diet. I often would like have lunch or breakfast, and like an hour or two later, I feel like I'm completely depleted because especially during summertime when I'm working outside and it's hot, all the heat, and it's just I get drained very quickly, and I make sure definitely I stay hydrated. I drink lots of water, and by the time I come home, though, I'm barely have any energy for home life and all that stuff too. And then another thing that because I briefly read on some things in Ayurveda. I think one of the things that's a part of it is sleep, and that's another thing where I don't have a consistent sleep
Mm.
cycle too. So I'm kind of in the place like, okay, where do I focus first? Because my life is it's not.
It's not very Ayurvedic.
Yeah, funny. This is Ayurvedic, and it's not. I don't. I don't like the way I live, um,
Mm.
and I'm just trying to see where I want to be. I just struggle with the steps, what the steps look like to getting there. So
Yeah, then I think we could talk more about that for sure. But it is interesting, like, what do you feel like your body wants the most? Like, regardless of the situation, what does your body or your intuition telling you, like, yo, dude, you need more sleep? Or is it like, no, you need more nutrition? Or is it a combo? Or what are you intuitively feeling? Because you're like, I don't really like it all. But it's like, then it's still so big and overwhelming. So like trying to hone in a little. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say it depends on the day. Like yesterday, it was sleep, but I would say if I could pick one for overall, it would probably be nutrition. I think that would probably be the biggest one.
Yeah. So when you do eat, when you're able to eat more nutritious food, or do you feel a difference? Is it like,
Yeah,
do you notice it with your energy?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So probably nutrition. Yeah. I mean, that's true. Ayurveda is rhythmic movement, rhythmic eating, rhythmic sleeping. That's kind of like the staple baseline. So it's hard if you're not, if you're sleeping and your eating is sporadic to get into those rhythms. Definitely makes it more challenging. And I wouldn't like cross it off like I can't ever do that. But yeah, go
I
ahead.
have a question with the rhythm.
Oh no. Time out. I can't hear you. Okay, now I can hear you. Start over.
Okay, I'm not sure where you lost. I got lost, but
As soon
I.
as you started talking, it cut out.
Okay. Well, I'm a musician of sorts, and one of the things in terms of rhythm that I think of as I'm piecing together like the ideas of Ayurveda, I kind of see it as tempo. Would, would you would you think that's right? Because like there's tempo, and then there's different patterns of rhythm that can feed off of that that pace. So I don't know this analogy in terms of Ayurveda offers, like I don't know if it works as okay, this is one set way of doing it, or is it kind of like this is the idea and it can look and flow different, but it's based off of that tempo. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. This is why I love talking to you. What this is so amazing. Yeah, so you're very intuitive. Like so the tempo is the circadian rhythm. Like the tempo is it's morning, it's night, it's fall, it's winter, it's spring, it's summer, right? That's the background tempo is morning and night, the seasons, the nature. Nature is like that, right? And we're in there finding where is our flow in this greater rhythm of the cosmos, like in this earth, all humanoids applies, like, right? Where is that rhythm for me right here, right now, in this time of my life? Because Ayurveda also looks at like children, working adults, which we would be in that middle time of life, and then the elderly is like, okay, you have a different focus when you're in those different stages, and we're in the like go 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 stage, right? So
Yeah.
it's not Ayurveda. It does take that into account a little bit, if that makes sense. Is
Okay.
that kind of what you were thinking, or?
Um. Yeah, it's along the lines. I wasn't sure if it's kind of like if it has the ideas of like black and white either or if it has the room for um I guess variety and different expressions and um
Yeah, it's very much a yes and. I mean, mostly I'm friends with several, Ayurvedic coaches, and I mean, when we talk, it's generally like, uh, that's if you feel like doing that, that sounds cool. Why don't you run the experiment and see how your body reacts to that and responds to that? So it's kind of like that could be perfect for you. I don't really know because it's so individualized.
okay.
And there's certain things like obviously if you're sleep deprived a ton, it's going to start affecting your health. Or if you drink alcohol every day, eventually, it's not going to be very good or whatever. Anything in excess,
Mhm.
overdoing it is going to start to tax the body. But as far as like how you make the rhythm work for you, there's flexibility in that, if that makes sense. Like there's certain things that are going to be more ideal. And not everybody's schedule allows for that. Like earlier, lighter dinners or a big lunch in the middle of the day, or right. Some of these things are trickier to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily impossible, but they do take a little bit of planning.
Mm-hmm.
If you're switching from eating a big meal at like 7 p.m. to one in the middle of the day, like you have to plan it and prepare
Yeah.
it and bake it and right.
Yeah.
It's just more work. And as you try those things, that's when the body's like, oh, actually, this is worth it. You should do this. And then you're like, oh, maybe I can figure out a way to make it work. It's like more about why I said yes and instead of black and white. It's like more about the possibilities and the options and the expansion. It's like, okay, it's a lot of Ayurveda is about herbs from India. And like we aren't in India, right? So the plants that are growing around us are good for us because they're in our ecosystem, right? A lot of times if you move somewhere else, then you have allergies because you're not accustomed to the different pollens of that area or whatever. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I don't know if
Yes,
that.
it does.
Okay.
Yeah. And I like that. It's not solely based on the herbs of India. It's fluid where you can implement.
Right. Like what served your ancestors? Like if you look back in the generations, like what were they eating? What spices were they cooking with? If you could add those in, that's probably the ecosystem of you is probably going to really feel nourished by some of those spices
Mm-hmm.
that were in your lineage. So it's just like for me, it's kind of mixed, but I know that there's caraway seeds and like sauerkrauts. So I'm like, okay, how can I add that stuff into my diet? Like caraway seeds is not Indian, but anyway, so like a lot of the treatments are like I like Maharajan oil. It's like mixed with herbs. As far as I
Mm-hmm.
know, they're from India. They might not be, but I'm pretty sure they are. And that's like I still like that oil, but do I need it? I mean, I could just use sesame oil. It's fine. Non-toasted, organic, cold pressed. But yeah, sesame oil. So I don't know. I'll stop talking. What else? What
um,
I think if you have like one or two little action steps, that's the best way. It's just this is what I tell all my clients is 51%. Like just do Ayurveda 51% of the time. That means just a little more than you're not. Just a little bit listening to the body more than not and making minor adjustments. It's like you're on the rush, it's lunchtime, you have like 10 minutes, you're in the gas station. Well, instead of getting the whatever burger or it's like, okay, where's the most green food and can I eat some of it just to get something more nutritious? Like that's a Ayurveda baby step in my mind.
yeah.
That makes sense. Getting warm water instead of a second cup of coffee, or it's like those little things of like, wait, this is actually going to nourish me and not override my nervous system. It's kind of funny, but if you eat more sugar and meats and coffee, like energy drinks, you actually have less energy.
I like coffee. I don't drink it for the well. Sometimes I think I drink it for the energy, but I just like the taste.
I like it too, and it's not a problem, but I just think it's really interesting that I have more energy in the morning on the mornings that I don't drink coffee. But that was something I had to, yeah, experiment with
Yeah.
and be like, okay, let me try this for a day or see how. So a lot of it is that, but I would say 51%, and you could totally do 51% because it's just, even if your life can't be like super Ayurveda, like, okay, lunch in the middle of the day, like all this stuff, at least you're like moving in that direction.
Yeah.
And so that will allow your intuition and your body wisdom to gain, like it'll increase because
Mm.
you're just slowly starting to honor it. Because basically, our whole culture is like, who cares what the body's telling you to do?
Yeah.
If you need to stay up late, stay up late.
Yeah.
If you're tired, eat some sugar, have some coffee. Like, your body doesn't need rest. Like, oh,
Right.
that would be crazy. It's true though. It's so true.
I see that in our
Our culture is just like that. So being a 51% Ayurveda is noticing that and being like, my body probably would be more honored, at least if I drink a glass of water before I have the glass of coffee. So like for me, if I'm going to have a soda or a coffee or even alcohol, if I'm going to have anything, I just know that I have to drink 2 glasses of water for that one other thing because it's dehydrating. That's 51% Ayurveda in my mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Random question. So during the summertime, is it okay? It's fine to drink like cold water, right? Because I think I've heard something like you shouldn't drink like really cold water in hot, really hot conditions. I'm not
I'm
sure
glad.
about.
Yeah. I'm glad you're asking me this question because I answered this question on the phone on Friday for somebody, but it's hard. It's kind of a little more complicated than this, but the basic breakdown is in Ayurveda, you have, and in yoga, you have a digestive fire that's called Agni. And that fire is, it's in your belly, right? It's in your belly. And when the sun is high and bright, you have more digestive ability. And when the sun is low or gone, you have less digestive ability, which is why the big meal is in the middle of the day because the sun is high, right? So it's very much in line with nature. So Ayurveda and yoga think of it as a fire, like a hot fire. And when you pour cold water on the hot fire, it weakens the fire. So drinking cold water consistently makes it harder for your body to digest the food. It weakens your digestion. So Ayurveda says, room temperature to warm water is more ideal. So even in the summer, I'll drink room temperature or slightly warm water over cold because our digestion's actually weaker in the summer than it is in the winter. I think that's right. Anyway, that's kind of getting more into it, but if that makes sense, that's like the easiest way to explain the cold water thing without getting too in depth with that. But does that make, I don't know, is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of. I'm gonna miss my cold water.
Well, it's funny because you don't
have a little room temp with a little ice, and then another room temp kind of thing, maybe. I don't know.
Well, 51%. I mean, this is the thing. I've watched over the years people have the shift with the water. So I can tell you that if you just try it and you honor how you feel, like your body integrity increases, you probably won't miss the cold water eventually. But as long as you still do, have it. Have it sometimes because that's not, Ayurveda is not restrictive. Ayurveda is not like, oh, you have to stop doing all the bad things now. Which is probably why it's worked for me because I'm pretty rebellious. I probably would have never been healthy. I'm serious though, because I mean, I remember my first, and I was sharing this story with some of the other coaches and people in my health coaching community, because the first time that I did a Sharadara and Abhyanga treatment, which is basically like oil massage on your whole body and oil on your third eye for a little while. And this whole cleansing process. It's a treatment. It's Ayurvedic treatment. And I remember when I finished that treatment, my nervous system had slowed down so much that I thought something was wrong. I was like, this is not right. I don't feel right. Like, this is because I was so calm and I had been so sped up by the sugar and by the coffee and by the not sleep, like just not even realizing that I was going that quickly. And I met up with my mentor after the treatment and I told him, I was like, I need a coffee and a cigarette right now. because I need to speed this baby back up. Like, I cannot be this slow. And he was like, well, that's fine, but why don't you sit with it for like 10 minutes and just feel the calmness. And then if you want, sure, have some coffee, have a cigarette, do whatever you need to do. I think I was 24, but I was just like, this is weird. It felt so weird to slow down. I don't know. Anyway, it was the strangest thing to me because I just had no idea. I had no idea that I was going so quickly. And that taught me. Then I started paying attention to my heart when I drank coffee. I was like, okay, I feel right. Like right now, I haven't had any caffeine. I'm like, oh, it's it's nice slow pace. Like I feel pretty clear right now. If I drink coffee, I will feel my heart like it'll speed up. And that's not necessarily bad, but it's just to observe. Because then if every day you're speeding your heart up and you only get so many beats, like maybe you don't want to do that every day. Like that's kind of where I got to after my a couple cleanses. I was like, I just want to enjoy coffee every once in a while, but I don't want to need it or feel like I have to have it. I don't want it to control me. I want to control it.
Yeah. It's good.
It takes time, especially when you're rebellious. But, over the years, it's like I definitely was a 2 or 3 cups of coffee kind of, person. And now I'm like a 1 every couple days. If I'm being really naughty, maybe I'll have like 5 or something in a week. I might get excessive here and there, but generally it's like 1 or 2, maybe 3 during a week. More like for meeting up with someone, or if I'm, at my parents and it's more like a relaxing, I'm choosing to do this because I love it, not like, oh, I have to have the coffee in the morning. So that's kind of where I want to be with everything. So, I like this, so I'm going to enjoy it sometimes, and that's moderation. Because for me, if I just tell myself, no, you can't do any of those things, that'll be great for like a couple weeks, and then I'll go crazy and do all the things way too much. I'll be like, pizza, yeah, beer, whatever. Like I'll go crazy. So I just have to, occasionally have a glass of wine or occasionally have a coffee, and that kind of keeps me like, okay, I'm not neglecting myself life.
Yeah.
Which I think is good for Ayurveda. It's very forgiving. I don't know. Ayurveda is also not like, it's plant-based, but you can still eat meat. Ayurveda is not like, very rigid. It's more like, well, eat it and see how you feel. So, but Ayurveda would say that for people that have a lot of anxiety and depression, that meat is good because it helps ground those people, right? Because their energy is like all over, and it's like, here's just an egg or whatever. You're like, here's some protein that's just gonna bring you back to your center, which I think is very interesting. You don't find that in any other traditions that I know of. Maybe Chinese medicine. I don't know.
No, okay. Nice.
He's leaving for school.
No,
I know. I was like, hey, I'm sitting in my office in the morning, so I was like, you got to get up like 6:30. And he was like, all right. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to get into any of the spiritual stuff. We have like a few more minutes. I don't know what time you have to go. But.
I'm flexible, so it's up to you how you want me to, or how you want it to progress.
Yeah, well, I think this is awesome. What I'm gonna do for everyone on Facebook, I'm gonna go and come back. Okay. So this was mostly about Ayurveda. So I think we'll stop this, and then we can maybe talk about spirituality. So it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Well, we don't actually have to do anything different.